So actually, interestingly enough, I actually have a Mousebots played. It's the one I alluded to earlier. So we'll actually get to do some back. If you notice, I didn't ask many follow-up questions for this one because I know how the game's done for you. That's what you talk. And not like Pronogo, where you do like my rambling style, really long questions, but then lose yourself 4 times and at the end just go, what do you think then? And you go, fucking hell. I mean, I guess I'll say whatever you said at the end. Because that's the thing, Pronogo. That's a really hard skill to do, mate. Doing it all in one go. Just saying.
There's a big crossover.
There is. So it's all right. But whatever, he's got that cheeky little tash to sort of, distract people. You know what? He actually looks like in that Rick and Morty episode. You know where there's that guy who's like the devil in that fucking shop, like he's the devil, like a little mustache, a little bit. He's got that little middle beard going on. Right, that's enough about him.
The one that gives all the objects, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they're all cursed items, and people buy them anyway. So that's actually one of the better episodes. I have to say, it's pretty funny. Mine is going to be Frozen from Mousebots. Now, here's where I go to on this one. Is like, first of all, unfortunately, he's another player where you have to have that asterisk of like, if you get super good online, everyone's going to wonder like, how is it going to transition offline? How would you do in a big stage match? Blah, 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 all that sort of jazz, But then there's also the factor with him that this is where actually, I guess I can tie it back to what Vu said, which is this player right here, in my opinion, the 2 players that are the test for Dexter is achor and Frozen, because they both showed potential already. BMAS, no one knows if he's ever going to make it. Like, to me, he was the most extreme example of where people have got to stop saying people who can frag in FPL like automatically can be pros. Like, there is so much more to the game than that in Counter-Strike. I know plebs still think like, it's an aim game. It's like, brother, it isn't. That's like saying in Quake it's just about like shooting the rail or whatever. Dude, I don't know if you know this, is a player called Rafa who was never even like a top 5 aimer, and he won like every fucking tournament for years and years and years because it's about what you can do around that and how you set up the shot and how you position a player, and you can take people's aim away from them. There's a concept a fan might have just blown their fucking mind with. Like, in theory, the reason why Simple is the greatest is you can do all the positioning and all the counter nades and everything against him. He still shoots you in the head. Like, when you make the shot that hard, everyone's supposed to miss. I used to say that back in the day when Astralis played against, Simple, Nico. I used to say that if you flashed, it doesn't matter how good your fucking aim is. Like, you just get killed, don't you? That's the aim of Counter-Strike. My problem is this. When I look at Achor, I think with him, it's just something mental, Like, he just has, if you notice in his personality, he said it in the interviews for Flashpoint 2, he's just got something in his personality where he almost, like, should be the support player. He reminds me of Azy, actually, his sort of personality. But his skills, dude, he's got, like, devices fucking AWP him. Like, if I were him, again, I'd be like a big dick player, mate. I'd be going for all the players. He's got sick flick aim as well. I can't believe he plays sometimes so passive and just within the system. So then I go to Frozen, right? To me, obviously, his raw skill is really good, especially with the fucking like M4. He's a banger. My problem is this, I actually thought he's the guy where if they'd have been on LAN, like that was Carrigan's test for 2020 if they were on LAN. If he could have got him properly to be a really good player, that's when they would have actually legit been like, they could win a major or something, I don't know yet if Dexter can get him to the next level. Because Dexter himself hasn't really been there. So anyone got a counter to this? Vu, maybe you pick up on this one. Do you have a reason, or do you have something about the way Frozen's playing that you think carries through?
I actually thought initially when I was watching Mousesports back with Kerrigan that Frozen had, it felt like he had a lot of overlap with Rops where he was constantly, well, the problem was I felt like playstyle wise he had overlap with Rops, but utilization wise he couldn't be utilized because obviously Rops is just better. And so what would happen is he was constantly put in these really aggressive spots, but then he would be pushed forward out to like sandbags or something on CT side Inferno, and then just play it super scared, or maybe not even scared, but just like as a not aggressively like they wanted him to play it, it would feel like. And I feel like he's worked on that to some extent, and he's a little bit more versatile, but I always felt like I wanted to see what he could do potentially on a team without Rops, where maybe he could take over more of that passive style.
That would have been interesting if, because everyone anticipated on paper, and by the way, it was going to happen, that Rops could have been in, G2, fucking Face, these sorts of teams. If that had happened, that would have been interesting, because obviously then he could have just had his spots, right? He could have, in the same way as if you remember, like, the classic examples in the past, like, all the MSL teams, he just moves the star fragger into the fucking second entry role, doesn't he? And they're like, right, let's see how good you are, versus the last guy.
I think Dexter has the ability to kind of manage Frozen in a way that he might be able to be utilized correctly, and that Dexter finds the openings that a player like Frozen can take the space he needs and then play in the way he wants, rather than trying to force him a little bit more aggressively. I'm not sure I'm 100% confident, but I do agree that it's definitely going to be a major test. And I think the difference in mouse sports being a top 5 team and a top 15 team is probably whether or not Frozen can stay activated.
Sure. Because another thing I've noticed that's actually a bit weird is you would actually think, and this is what like the super like low resolution take on online Counter-Strike would be, because everyone has the vibe of like, you know, it evens up a lot of the gaps. There's not the same experience factor. You can't sort of have intangibles that you do on LAN. It makes it sound like it's easier, right? Like, oh, it's easy now. But actually I've noticed, dude, there's not that many teams, maybe like Heroics, like a rare example. There's not that many teams where most players actually can frag out. Like even on the online generation, like you have a lot of teams where it's like, it's almost like the old days. It's like you have 2 players and they go fucking ham. And it's how well do they do versus the other team's 2 players, you know? There's not that many squads that are like everyone's really... So that's one area where I actually do wonder, like going forward, how many of these... Because if mouse spots can keep even 3 players fragging like they did at this tournament, they could be a force. They can at least be like a really dangerous dark horse team. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't really see... Acor, everything that Acor has ever done, other than when we watch him play, has indicated to me that he's not going to be a force on LAN, unfortunately. And I think that puts such a hard cap on the entire team. And I almost feel like the best thing that Frozen can do to up his own game is to just op a little bit more on CT side. I don't think he needs to do it on T side or anything like crazy like that, but just change up your spots a little bit by just throwing an op into the mix here and there would probably do him wonders. So, I mean, like, especially outside on Nuke, having a double op set up on Nuke is something that teams run occasionally. But if he throws that in like once a game or, you know, once every couple games, even, it doesn't even need to be every game, then that's going to be something where teams are going to have an even tougher time game planning around him. So I think that Mouse right now is just like it's so hard to be critical of them because of what we saw at Flashpoint. Like everything just worked and they were beating teams pretty handily. Like a lot of the series that they played didn't even feel like they were ever out of control. And so it's really tough to like give any solid criticism other than what I've seen from Acor. And then I think Bemis has even reeled himself in a little bit. Like you were talking about how, I mean, on FaZe, he looked bad. Like he looked,
yes,
he was like, Nico was like, get me off this team. And he got off the team actually. But it's just that was really rough. And now I actually have been seeing Bemis take.
It's more like Normas instead of BMAS.
Yeah.
Not bad reference. Boomer reference, but okay.
Live Moss. Live Moss by the bell. Yeah. Yeah. Like he's like, I actually see him doing the right initiative, but that could just also be this everything going right for Mouse Sports. You know, like those plays that he made that worked at Flashpoint could have similarly just like the person that he pushed into could have shot him. And it could be just results oriented thinking that because he won those fights where he just pushed, like, oh, he's making a cool play and he's taking the right kind of initiative. But if he dies there, then it's like you just lost the round too. So it like too much went right for me, for Mouse Sports, to give a really solid assessment to say, like, this team is going to be top 5 3 months from now.
Thing is, I will just say again, like one reason I had to put this on here, even though I myself am a little bit skeptical of how much can this continue. Like at the moment, his form's been really good. It's been a couple of months now. So listen, it's not like one tournament. But the issue I obviously have is like, you know, when we go to LAN, like, mate, then you're competing against Simple and all these players for the MVP. But I'll say this, if you can be the MVP of a tournament in which G2 is relevant and Nico is also very good, like going off, like, you fucking, yeah, you kill it. And obviously Device was pretty good by the end. Like, these weren't joke names, you know, it wasn't like everyone was a shitter. And I'll also say, I think another thing that made that tournament feel a lot underwhelming was there was so many roster moves and things beforehand that sort of like cut away part of the sort of hype of the event, you know. And especially the fact that like Nip lost the opener made you not really give him credit until it was too late in the tournament. Heroic didn't make the fact. There's a million narratives that sort of just zigged when you wanted to Zag, you know. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.